Welcome everyone. This is the fortnightly etcd community meeting. My name is James. I'm an etcd maintainer, and I am back after a couple of weeks off, and I have so much catch up to do. But let's share the doc and get into it. One moment. All right, someone just give me a quick thumbs up and let me know if that's coming through.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so just a quick heads up for anyone new to the session. There is a shared Google Doc I've got showing here, and you'll be able to propose topics for the meeting. You'll have edit access, essentially, if you are subscribed to the etcd dev mailing list. I can see our first item today, and looks like only item for today, which actually may take a little bit of time to talk through, is a Kubernetes enhancement proposal for feature gates in etcd. This one's been a long time coming, so I'll hand over to Suan to talk us through it.
So yeah, I just drafted a cap for introducing FeatureGate to etcd. So Kubernetes has been using FeatureGate for a long time, so it's got like a very mature mechanism to how to introduce new features into the code base and not breaking things. So I think this will benefit etcd a lot. So it's a long cap, but please, if you're interested, take a look and drop reviews. Yeah, so the basic idea is we'll introduce a new feature gates flag in etcd, and then all new features in etcd in the future going forward will have to be gated by a feature gate, so that it is by default the feature gate will be disabled in alpha stage, and then so your people would not be afraid to add new features because it won't break things because it's gated. And then once it's mature enough, we can graduate the feature into beta stage, which will be enabled by default. And then once that stabilizes, we can move it to GA stage. So it introduces the gradual as like a stage changes for different features, and then it doesn't have to be breaking like the current experimental figure like flags.
Cool, thanks, Jan. And it's got a mention in here that we will migrate the existing experimental features to flags. Is that all as part of the same cap?
So the cap
No,
itself.
sorry, that's a non-goal.
Yeah.
That's a non-goal. Yeah, okay. Good to clarify that. Okay. Cool. So we'll need a bit of review on this team. Anyone that has a little bit of time to have a read through. Just a quick tip in GitHub, if you're looking at the linked pull request, just hit display rich diff, and it's a little bit easier to read caps this way, because you'll get the actual markdown. Have a look through. It'll be good to move away from the experimental flags, which obviously break as soon as we need to actually graduate it because of the format we use for the experimental flags, and a lot of other reasons, but yeah.
So question, so we're not touching experimental. This is more to be aligned with kind of how Kubernetes does things, right? Like,
Yes.
Right, okay. Yeah, I don't know what to do with experimental. It's kind of been on the kind of radar for a while. And I know there was an update to what it means to, so I don't know, maybe on separate, I guess until this rolls out, we're not going to touch experimental, right? Or
Yeah, in this cap we're not covering that, but we can have a separate plan to migrate existing experimental flags into FeatureGate.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that so there was a sort of documentation update maybe like a year ago, what needs to be done to migrate from experimental. In my opinion, the main pain point is that basically somebody needs to go and write more testing, I think, for, and the problem is that, somebody added a feature, right? Let's say, but now if, if I'm not the author of that experimental feature, right? Like, why would I go and write tests for, for that just to graduate it? I feel like that's maybe anyway, I don't want to like diverse the discussion. So this is great, but I don't know, maybe what are people's opinion on like experimental, if any?
So we certainly do have a roadmap item for 3.6 to try and evaluate and either like graduate or remove experimental features. The last kind of discussion we had on that is a starting point, and it's something that anyone can kind of help with. Is if we just look at those issues, I think we've got a tracking issue for them. Or you can just go under help wanted, I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's also this I posted in chat for like the documentation of
Cool.
graduation. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
So we've got a sequence of these help wanted issues, and a starting point for these is just doing a simple update to show what test coverage we have for that particular feature and any available information on how it's being used, just so that we can get a starting point to consider. So that was something I'm going to work on when I have time, but certainly welcome anyone else that has a little bit of time to look at some of those existing experimental flags in context of 3.6. Cool. Other questions on the enhancement proposal, team?
Yeah, I think we just need more time to review this.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so let me jump back to the agenda. And we have an etcd operator
Benjamin, sorry, I
item
didn't.
here.
Benjamin, it's me. Oh, sorry.
Cool. Take it away, Benjamin.
Yeah, I finished this talk a couple of weeks ago, but so I just share this talk. I just investigate. We're going to develop an official etcd operator for the operator. This is a topic we discussed in the KubeCon Paris. So I spent a couple of weeks to investigate not all, just some of the existing etcd operator. So this is just the investigative result. So for your information, we are going to send a survey probably next week to collect the feedback or requirement or use case from the community. So anyway, this just for your information to share the talk for the community. So we're going to send the formal survey next week and send the talk into the etcd dev, the Google group.
Sounds good. Thanks, Benjamin. So if anyone has any context they'd like to get on the work underway around the operator and the current state of some of the existing operators, then have a read through this linked doc. And yeah, for anyone that wants to feed into some development work coming up around an operator, please let us know what you think in that survey. We'll be talking about that, no doubt, moving forward as well. Okay. So those are the only two topics we have in our agenda for today, team. Any last minute additions anyone wants to have a quick chat about? Otherwise, we'll call it then.
No.
So since we have a little bit of time, I just wanted to come back on to the experimental discussion. What's your opinion about maybe like reaching out, like removing some of them, like if let's say maybe we can do like a survey or something, if people don't really use the some of the features, right? They don't have it in their configs. Then maybe it's worth removing, and we can like maybe reach out to original authors who added them. If they want to graduate it, if they actually use it. Because I feel like the problem, as I said, that there can be extra testing basically that is needed. If let's say I don't really use the feature, right? Like there's no motivation to go and write the test unless somebody wants to do it. You know what I mean? So basically the question, like more like aggressively removing, and then okay, if people like reach out later and say, hey, we actually use it. I mean, we can always edit back, and maybe they'll be motivated to write the tests, more tests if they actually need it.
I think we need to analyze case by case. Removing definitely not good a good way. Even if it's just our experimental feature, because we don't want to break anything.
I think one of the challenges is we've had features that we label experimental that have actually been in etcd for a long time now. I'm not opposed to, again, case by case, making a decision to remove an experimental feature if we have a pretty clear understanding that it's not being used. But I think we would need to signal that over time and say like, hey, in 3.7 or 3.6, we would be removing certain experimental feature, but we need to give people time and we need to communicate things well. So we just have to take it case by case.
Yeah, anyway, we need a contributor to drive this effort. At least I don't have bandwidth to investigate all the existing experimental feature.
I think it would be good to get a general survey of like what experimental features are being used or not being used, so that we can prioritize which ones to invest in. Right.
Is anyone interested in driving this effort?
I can do I mean, if you can help me with sending the survey, I can try to help with just organizing that, but and basically making based on the survey, we can make a recommendation. Okay, here's maybe the ones that we can consider removing.
Okay.
If that helps, I don't know.
Okay, sounds good to me. Yeah. Anyway, in the first step, we need to summarize all the existing experimental feature under the certain survey. Yeah, it's okay for me. Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. The one other thing I had in mind for the experimentals was to actually do a GitHub code search, because you can, like, if someone has some config that is public and it's on GitHub, you can search across all of GitHub code, right? So you can search for that feature and see how many times it comes up in, obviously not in etcd forks, but in genuine sort of config repos for etcd, as one other indicator for how widely it might be being used.
Yeah, I mean that's easy. Yeah, sounds good. So I can do that search and then put it in the results in the block. But will you be able to help me with sending out the survey if I prepare a doc? Is that
Absolutely. Yep, happy to help with that. I mean, we just want to make sure we're not doing like multiple surveys at the same time, so we'll wait for this operator one to wrap up and get some results in from that. We just have to sequence it.
Yeah, and I'll help with the survey, of course, particularly making sure that it's publicized.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay, but I think my sort of lean towards basically saying, hey, if people, if we give enough time, right, and nobody replies and nobody kind of claims the feature, let's maybe remove it. I mean, given like the time and announcement and stuff, or unless there's yeah. Anyway, so let me just document all of them. I guess put it in a doc, and I can maybe try to estimate. Although difficult though to estimate like how much testing it needs to. But anyway, well, let's start I guess with the survey and the summary, and then so I think that part is relatively easy, and then we can discuss after that and see if some of them can be removed.
Bogdan, I'm going to tag you in this issue here, and we can discuss some of the next steps in here, if that's okay.
Yep, perfect.
Cool. Okay, I'll update that shortly. Okay, any other topics for today, team? I can see one just being added currently. Seeking a recommendation for etcd learners for Kubernetes upgrade. Lan, take it away.
Yeah, so I'm Lan Tao from Google. So we just want to seek some recommendation from the community leads about this model. So we're evaluating something like some different models for Kubernetes upgrade, and one like option we're thinking about, we're evaluating is whether we can just use etcd's learner or dynamic member model to, like when you upgrade control plane, add a member, add a control plane, remove control plane, add a control plane, remove control plane. So doing this kind of rotation to upgrade the control plane instance of the Kubernetes cluster. So we just want to know like whether this is a common practice, and do you think etcd will do well in this kind of like use case or not, and any general recommendation? Yeah.
Yeah, this is Benjamin. Yeah, yeah. Usually, there are two. We need to differentiate the two use cases. The first use case is upgrades. The second use case is scale out. There are two different use cases.
Yes.
For the upgrades, I don't think the learner can help. But for scale out use case, learner can help. For the scale out, for example, when you scale out one node etcd cluster to 3 etcd cluster, you have to scale out from 1 to 2 member cluster, and then from 2 to 3 member. So the 2 node cluster is a dangerous phase, is a dangerous step. So this is no issue in the etcd community, because if you have 1 node cluster, you can tolerate 0 node downtime. If you have 2 nodes, you still can tolerate 0 node downtime. So there's no difference. But when you have 2 nodes, you have more possibility to run into issue because you have 2 nodes, you have more nodes, you have one more node. So this is no issue. There's no perfect solution right now. So we are. This is one of the topic we will discuss when we develop the etcd operation in the near future. Yeah, it's a hot topic.
I see, but my understanding that assuming we use the learner model, so we don't promote the member as voter until the data is in sync. With that, in theory, what we can do is that we can promote the member after it's ready, and then immediately remove like an old member. So I understand that there will still be a window that there will be even number, but assuming data is already in sync, we do this fast, that window should be small based on understanding. And if that only happens during in a small window during upgrade, it may still be okay, I assume.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah,
I think the sequence is important, and if you're talking about momentarily, adding a learner, waiting for it to come in sync, promoting the learner, and then immediately sort of removing an existing member to keep a cluster at a kind of relatively consistent size, that roughly makes sense to me. But if the alternative of like adding multiple learners and promoting those without removing one by one, it gets a little problematic. So I think that the sequence is just really important. I was going to suggest one way to get a little bit wider input than just this meeting would be to raise a discussion, and you can get a little bit more input potentially through there, or a little bit more formalized kind of input through a discussion.
Okay.
On the repo. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, and then after you add to the discussion, maybe also add the link to the community meeting doc, so
Yeah.
people can see it.
Okay. There we go, team. So one last call. We have about 7 minutes left. Otherwise, we can call it there for today.
All right, thank you.
Okay, well, let's call it there for today. Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely upcoming weekend, and we'll see you in next week's meeting.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.